Hey guys, welcome back to Hoffman Supply Chain Advisors. I'm Dave Hoffman, and today I want to talk about different modes of transportation, how the cost structure works, and then when it's appropriate to use these modes. So let's get started, and let's talk first about truckload, okay? So TL, truckload. So typically this is most useful when you have, let's just say 15 to maybe 25 pallets of product you need to ship to a customer, okay? It's primarily used for higher volume or more volume shipments. And the way the pricing works, right? It's pretty simple. You have your distance from point A to point B, okay, which would be your line haul, okay? And then the other component that makes up your cost is fuel. And what a lot of companies will do is they might have a fuel schedule they'll use, and every Monday the Department of Energy releases where diesel fuel falls. So let's just say, for example, diesel fuel is at $2.35 a gallon. That might equate to a maybe like a 42-cent per mile cost for fuel. So for every 1 mile, it's 42 cents, right? So then you take those two costs, add them together, and that's what your total all-in rate would be for truckload transportation. Typically, the way it works with truckload, though, is it's a dedicated truck, meaning you can put all your product on that truck, and it cannot add any other product to that truck. So that truck will go from your origin to your destination and not stop anywhere else. So again, that's when we talk about dedicated. So that's a little bit how truckload works. The only other time I would say you can use truckload is in instances where maybe you have to expedite something. So next I'm going to talk about LTL, but let's just say you have an LTL shipment and that works a little bit differently and you need to get there faster. So this is where truckload would be appropriate. And again, you could put one pallet on a truck. You could put, again, the 15 to 25 pallets on a truck. But again, you can't spread your costs out over a lot of units when you're only putting one pallet on a truck. So again, it's very expensive, but again, you're getting better service, okay? So that's truckload and how that works. Let's go to LTL, all right? And I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can. I tend to get excited about this stuff, so feel free to drop comments and any other questions you guys may have. But LTL, right, this is appropriate when you have, let's say, maybe 1 to 8 pallets of product you need to ship somewhere, okay? And it doesn't go from point A to point B like truckload does. This is how it works, right? So you have your location where your product is, okay? And the carrier comes and they pick it up. And let's just say your location is in, I'm going to use where I am. You're in Philadelphia, okay? And this product needs to go all the way to, let's just say it needs to go to Texas, all right? So instead of going right from Philly to Texas, it's going to stop. Maybe it goes to Harrisburg, PA. And I chose that because I know that that location, Allentown, PA, that's a major freight hub here for the Northeast. So it's going to stop, go from Philly to Harrisburg. Then maybe from Harrisburg, it's going to go to, I don't know, maybe Memphis, Tennessee. Okay? And then maybe from Memphis, Tennessee, it goes to Texas, or it could stop somewhere else. But the point being is LTL, when those carriers pick up, they have a network of terminals across the country that they're going to make stops in. So each time it makes a stop, that product comes off the truck onto their forklifts, they put it in the warehouse, and they start to plan their trucks to where they have to go next, okay? So that's kind of how LTL will work. Now, let's look a little bit at how the pricing works for LTL, okay? So much like truckload, you have the criteria of point A to point B, okay, which is your line haul. And then you also have fuel. Now, fuel for LTL, it works a little bit different. Same thing, they'll look at the fuel schedule off the Department of Energy's website, and then the way their fuel surcharge works is instead of a cost per mile, it's a percent of the line haul cost. So real simple, easy numbers. Let's say your line haul cost is $100, okay? And the fuel falls, and let's just say it's for this week, it's 28%, okay? So your fuel plus your line haul is $128. Okay, that's how fuel and pricing works. But in this cost, there's two other factors you need to account for. And the way they price out their freight is, what does the product weigh? And what is the freight class? And every item that ships here in the US has a freight class. And you can take it a step further, and I've seen this on bills of lading, and it does help, where they also have an NMFC, and that stands for National Motor Freight Classification. So, you know, you ship a pallet of pencils. Maybe those pencils, the NFC number is, and I'm just making this up, sorry, I messed up there. 217532. And you put that on your documentation, your bill of lading, okay? But the weight in the freight class, along with where you're going, really is what dictates price. Now, with LTL and even truckload, you know, you can see a published rate from a carrier, and maybe again, it's $128. But LTL carriers also offer discount rates. And in order to get those discount rates, typically what they would require is maybe some sort of a volume commitment. Okay, so you can maybe get a little bit of a discount off of this, right? That's how they work. But again, with LTL, you have your point A to point B. Again, it's important to remember your weight and your freight class are going to dictate what this line haul cost is, and then fuel, it fluctuates based on the Department of Energy. So real simple with LTL, okay? Next, I want to talk about using rail, okay? So rail is a little unique in the sense where it's very rigid, meaning like it can only go from point A to point B. There's no pivoting. So when we talk about truckload, right, it goes from point A to point B. But let's just say you have a customer and they forgot to give you the wrong delivery address. Well, that truck could then make the change on the road and go where they need to go. With rail, it doesn't work that way, okay? So same thing you have with rail, how it works. You're going to go from point A to point B. But the way rail works is whether you're shipping intermodal, and I'll share what intermodal means. Okay, it's using more than one mode of transportation. And what a lot of customers do is they use trucks, okay, to pick up their product from their shipping location. And they take that product to the rail yard, okay? So again, yes, it's going from point A to point B, but in order to get from here, the origin, to the rail yard, right, you're going to use a truck, okay? And then the truck's going to drop that container off the rail yard, okay? And then they're going to put it on the train, and it's going to go to the destination terminal, okay? Connected here. And then from the destination terminal, it's going to get loaded back with the truck, okay? And from there, it's going to go to the end customer, right? So that's what intermodal is. It's truck plus train. So using more than one mode of transportation. But let's just say you're not an intermodal shipper. Maybe you're a grain shipper. Maybe you're a chemical shipper, okay? So the way that's going to work is rail does have a network of tracks that sometimes the trains can go by a large manufacturer, and you can load product right on the train when it's there. So again, now you're looking at these chemical manufacturers, grain manufacturers, coal, whatever. They can go from point A to point B. All right. And same thing with rail, how the pricing works. You're going to have your line haul plus fuel. Okay. And rails do offer certain discounts. So let's talk about the two ways that they offer discounts. First is they'll offer multi-car discounts. So let's just say you have a large volume of product. It needs to go on, let's say, 3 or 4 cars. Okay. They'll offer a discount because when they bring that train out to your location, they load it and they start on their way. Instead of having to switch out all these cars at their terminals as they're going across the country, they don't have to, they can keep these 4 cars together. So it makes it that much easier for them when they're switching at the terminals. So that's one way you can get a discount, okay? Multi-car. Or unit trains. And really what a unit train is it's one commodity that train is specifically hauling. So again, I'll go back to the large chemical manufacturers, grain, coal. So if they're basically saying, we're going to give you enough volume to tie up your entire train, the rail company is going to give them a nice discount, okay? Where obviously rail does not make sense to use is if you have LTL size quantities or if you're looking to expedite something. Again, rail's just not, it's very rigid. It works a certain way. If that customer says, oh, I need that product, they're not going to stop a train for your customer. That train's going to go. It's going to come to the terminal and do what it needs to do. So that is rail. All right. Let's talk about air. Okay. Air, most customers, this is not used on a consistent basis. Air is a last resort. Air is when you really need to expedite something. And so, if you think about, there are different options. When you fly commercial, like a Delta or United Airlines, they take your luggage and they put it below that plane. But below that plane, they also can store cargo. And that's where shippers might also look for space to put on the plane so they can serve their customers. So your air rate, right? If you think about that, it's based on weight and volume. And again, we all know the formula of volume: length times width times height, okay? And then again, you obviously have your point A to point B that plays a role, but weight and volume are what drives air costs, okay? Now, some airlines, what they'll do is they will give pricing based on density, okay? So a product could be more dense, less dense. That obviously plays a role. The more dense, the more it's going to cost. They also offer a service, okay? Deferred delivery, okay? And this is a discount because if you have some flex and you're like, hey, I need to get this customer by the 28th, but I have a window. I can either have it there like the 29th or the 30th, but that's the absolute first day. So if you're willing to give them a little flexibility, they'll give you a discount, okay? So again, air, I have seen examples where a customer will charter an entire plane. It's like tens of thousands of dollars. Again, it's a critical shipment. They've done that before. But most customers, what they're looking is they're probably playing in this 1 to 3 pallet range when they're going to use air, okay? All right, let's talk about ocean next, all right? So the way ocean works is you have 2 different types of containers you can ship on. We have 20-foot containers and 40-foot containers, okay? So again, you think about if it's 20 foot, this is kind of where you're going to play in the LTL volumes. We talked about that, let's say 3 to 8 pallets. Okay, 40-foot containers. This is more like along the truckload lines we're talking about. So maybe again, that 15 to 25 pallets, all right? Ocean is very economical, but it takes a long time, right? When you're on that water, it can take weeks to get it from. If you're shipping something out of China into the US, it's going to be on the water for a long period of time, all right? So, same thing, you have your point A to point B, all right? You're going to have your, call them our line haul costs. And then you're also going to have your fuel, right? And what I've observed with ocean, right, it's become very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as dependable when you think about truck, when you think about LTL. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have ocean carriers that they'll have blank sailings. And again, I don't want to get too deep in this because I don't want to confuse you, but what a blank sailing is, they're scheduled to pick up at a port or come to a port and they don't go to the port because there's not enough cargo, there's not enough volume for them to make money on that ship. So this is where ocean can be very challenging as a customer where you want to ship. So again, you want to have consistent volume, but the way you can ensure that you at least have a shot to get on that is working with freight forwarders, okay? They are companies that work with multiple shippers. They buy space on these steamship lines, and then you can get on there with these other shippers. So that way they're bringing the volume to the steamship lines, which helps you then in turn be able to service, be able to get your product moving, okay? So that's pretty much your modes of transportation. I hope you like this video. If you can, just subscribe and like, and we will continue to talk about more topics transportation related. Thanks for watching.